that were being made at the earliest times, all the way back from century before Moses to the 7th century BC. Now this makes sense that God would use a form that people would understand. People would understand the covenant in that form, of course, because they lived it. Now, God always speaks to us using the familiar, be it a burning bush, cloud, water, oil, bread and wine. God didn't talk to Moses and Israel through the image of the Empire State Building. No. They wouldn't have known that. Now let's consider, let's follow this covenant line of logic through its logical conclusion. In the case of these ancient treaties, Mesa has referred here as the great king. He would enter into a relationship with the lesser prince or governor, or the vassal. Mutual commitments are made to one to the other, and the great king promises to protect the vassal, and in turn, the vassal agrees to obey the king. The concluding part of this covenant is, if the vassal obeys, he will live. If the vassal disobeys, death. The important thing here is that the life and death of the vassal relates exclusively to obeying or disobeying the great king. In the case of salvation history, we can see that Yahweh is in the place of the great king, and Israel plays the part of the vassal. And Israel is the one being protected and promises to obey. Now this theme is recurrent in all scriptures. It's not one of many, but the political relationship that we have discussed just now is the only way to look at any of the relationships between God and man. Scriptures may use the terms father, son, shepherd, sheep, vinekeeper, and vine. However, they're all derived from and should only be looked upon in the same political way. Moving to the New Testament, the main way of talking in the Synoptic Gospels is the kingdom of God. Any guesses on how you should look at that? Now the kingdom of God has to do with the establishment of social life and community order as the great King Yahweh intends it to be. Again, he's coming down with they're protecting us. We're deciding to obey or disobey. Now remember, we just discussed a little bit ago, we're the church. We are Israel. We are the vassals, but not to the church, to God. We are already our church through the covenant as well as the human dignity which was given to us by God himself. First,
in Article 43.
In Article 43 is exactly it, which is on this page.
I got the mouse.
Congratulations. You got page 11?
That's where it says number 25 in Article 43.
Well, that's good to hear. So what does it say in Article 43? What a wonderful...
Who assisted it, huh?
We did arrange all this. This is...
You're like Laurel and Hardy there.
In Article 43, as I get you heard, it makes it very clear that earthly responsibility is intimately linked with our salvation. It shows that the act of worship alone do not, by themselves, cut it. You hear this a lot, but they're good people. And now, one that we see far too often in our lives. Those who plunge into earthly affairs, but then have no thought whatsoever to the spiritual life. Isn't that what the others are pushing for us? Sure, you can worship however you want, but leave it at home. When you're out here in the real world, we don't want to hear about it. Again, this is just another introduction to duality into the sacred. This is clearly rejected by the Council Fathers, and they exhort the Christian who neglects the temporal duties, neglects his duties toward his neighbor and even God, and jeopardizes his eternal salvation. The Synod of Catholic Bishops in 1971 stated the following: action on behalf of the justice and participation in the transformation of the world as constitutive dimension of the preaching of the gospel. Now, what does that mean? Well, This means the mission of the redemption of the human race and its liberation from every oppressive situation. We're here, we work at it. Holiness, which can be also treated as doing the will of God, is none other than right here, present world. It is not meant to be relegated to the next life, because by that time, frankly, it's just too late. The church also knows that you and I must work our holiness into our everyday lives. Never, ever should it be something we do privately, but as part of our socialization. The political theology of which you talked about affirm us in two very important ways. First,
You took my sheet. I don't know where I'm at.
give me a clip. Give me another clip. Give me one more clip. That's what I want to see.
Okay.
First,
Oh, what? Another one?
good. So first, the God of the church is the one whose primary investments have to do with the secular, the social, historical, and the political realities. Second, the treaty partner, us, have its life, well-being, and identity by caring decisively about the secular, social, historical, and political realities which matter most to Yahweh. So quoting Dr. Mesa, in the Bible, neither Israel nor the church is presented as a normal political entity, or as a national or language group, or one attached to a territory. Rather, it's a community created out of and sustained by a symbol system of the covenant. To belong to this people, the laicos, or laity, is to live out the covenant. Now, we got to pull together all these little strings together and take a look at the overall quilt. And that's going to be by taking away a look at how we should be living out our spirituality. Gaudium and Spes starts with human dignity, layers with that the realities of sin, makes the important distinction that mankind is a social creature. All of these work together to make us church. The document goes on to speak of human community and sees its mutual interdependence. It is through the covenant system which we are fully interdependent. The betterment of the person and the betterment of society depend on each other. But when we look at the whole of society as with the eyes of the church, and we bring holiness and the will of God into the society, we show that we care so very, very much about those things which God has given to us. That's how we can look at the biblical perspective. That's why it contrasts so much with a Greek dualism. We see in the scriptures that holiness is a worldly holiness. We see in the scriptures that holiness is a holiness for all of its members, not just laymen and women, everyone. We heard in our review that God offers his life and love to the ordinary, not just the sacred. The secular world is proper and special to laymen and women. The laity doing the will of God and doing the things, working through their vocations. We look to the kingdom of God by engaging these temporal affairs. What does being a Christian in the world mean, if not this? The faithful, therefore, must learn the deepest meaning and the value of all creation and how to relate it to the praise of God. We cannot afford to wait. We can't afford to sit idly by waiting for the next life, imagining through our dualistic way of thinking that the world is not worth doing anything with. Because it is, and the church, who has the profound impact upon it. We cannot make this division of life into the sacred and the profane. God offers his love to us all the time, not just at specific times. That's why he has the name of Emmanuel. God is with us. God is never far away. He's in our yards. He's in our gardens. He's in our shirts, in our socks. Well, maybe not those. But we tend to put distances and walls up between ourselves and God. He doesn't put those up, we do.